Southampton are rock bottom of the Premier League table and look destined for relegation. So today we're taking over at the worst club in the Premier League during the January transfer window, and we're not stopping until we win the title. So I've created a simple 5-step plan to turn us into champions, starting with avoiding relegation. But the lowest points total a club has had at the halfway point of a season and still survived is 10 points, and we currently have 6. So we need a miracle. We're going back to basics. All I want is simple Route 1 football. Fire it up to Ben Brereton Diaz, who knocks it down for Armstrong to score. But with only 4 natural centre-backs currently in the squad, I do think we need to add depth here. However, we only have £1 million to spend, so we need to sell, but the only offers we're getting are loans to buy. So we have to make a purchase on the cheap, and for just £300,000, Willy Bolly joined us for 18 months, but I just don't think he's going to be enough to save us from the drop. Up first is Wolverhampton Wanderers, but thanks to a terrible defensive error, our relegation rivals beat us 1-0. Then we had a horrible run of fixtures. Bella Kotchap scored an own goal as Arsenal thrashed us 4-0, and Kyle Walker-Peters scored an own goal as we lost 3-0 to Manchester United, whereas Liverpool's January signing Adrien Rabiot scored a brace as they beat us 3-0. But we do have a glimmer of hope as Adam Lallana scored the only goal of the game to beat Chelsea 1-0. Then, thanks to Christiansen fouling Brereton Diaz, we beat Leicester 1-0 thanks to Will Manning's penalty. But we're still rooted to the bottom of the table, 7 points away from safety with 7 games to go. Those games started well. After Erling Haaland scored first for Man City, Adam Armstrong scored a screamer to earn an incredibly important point. Against Fulham, Anthony Robinson opened up the scoring, but with our backs against the walls, Paul Onuachu got us back on level terms with a cracking header before Armel Bella Kotchap gave us the lead with just 25 minutes to play. But then the wheels fell off. Raul Jimenez scored a scrappy goal from the 6-yard area, and then the referee gave Fulham the softest of penalties, which Raul scored to beat us 3-2. And this sent the club atmosphere to rock bottom. Aston Villa then beat us 2-0 away from home before we travelled to Liverpool, where we had to beat Everton to keep survival alive, but Beto's brace was the final nail in the coffin. That defeat moved Everton 12 points ahead of us with 3 games to play, meaning we've been relegated from the Premier League, failing the first step of my plan. But this might turn out to be a good thing, because the second step of my plan is to sign under 21 players. To win the Premier League, we are going to need world-class superstars, but right now, Southampton can't buy them, so what we have to do instead is develop them. Thanks to parachute payments, we have 25 million to start buying young talent, but we are about to raise a whole load more money, because we sold 126 million pounds worth of players. So with 150 million pounds to spend, how much did I end up spending? Just 26 million on 6 under 21 players. And 3 of them, Lambordet, Johnson and Kasanov, are all heading out on loan for the season. Having dropped down to the Championship, the very best young talent aren't really interested in joining us. So these 6 players that we've picked up should have some high potentials, but we have to do a bit of work with them first to actually get them to a decent level. But I reckon at least a couple of these guys will be part of a squad that eventually ends up winning the Premier League trophy with us. Zenta and Zambrano go straight into the first team, whilst Yusuf Demir is back up to Mateus Fernandez. Adozi, Sulemana and Charles all get promotions from the under-21s, and we're also switching to a very attacking 4-2-3-1 as we look to take the league by storm. We need a big season from striker Cameron Archer. If he's going to be our long-term starting striker, he has to impress. And in the first half of the season, he did. After 23 games, he's got 15 championship goals. A lot of them were assisted by new left-back Aaron Zenta, who has 15 championship assists at the halfway point. He's easily my signing of the summer. But we weren't having everything our way. We did lose 7 games before Christmas, including pivotal matches against promotion rivals Swansea, Sunderland and Cardiff. So at the halfway stage, we're only 3rd in the table and 7 points behind league leaders Swansea. We have to be better in the second half of the season if we want to get promoted. So we decided we had to make more use of Ben Brereton Diaz. We increased his minutes, and my word did he score goals. He was an unrelenting machine who was basically winning his games by himself. We also turned into the Clutch Kings. Mateus Fernandes scored in the 91st minute to beat Coventry 2-1. Yusuf Demir's 93rd minute goal earned us a 3-2 victory at Lincoln City, before we relied on under-18 striker Princewell Ahabhashioman to score a 99th minute winner away at Sunderland. As a result, with 3 games to go, we sit 9 points clear of Ipswich and West Brom. If we avoid defeat to Swansea, who were top of the table at Christmas, the title and promotion will be ours. But the game didn't start well, as we were powerless to prevent Swansea from opening up the scoring. Then Gavin Bazunu made a great close range save to tip a shot onto the post. He then just couldn't react quick enough to save the rebounded effort. We needed a way back into the game, and thanks to a clever free kick routine, Cameron Archer gave us the lifeline we needed to reduce the deficit, only for Swansea to score another goal from a corner moments before half-time. So at the break, we have an uphill battle ahead of us. But thanks to a neat free kick, James Bree was able to score our second goal of the game. The clock, though, was ticking down. So, when Wellington was given the ball from a throw-in and crossed it into the middle, I jumped out my chair in celebration as Cameron Archer made it 3-3. But this Southampton team don't do things by half measures. With 10 minutes to go, we worked the ball down the far side of the pitch and once again picked out Cameron Archer to score his hat-trick, only for Swansea to score another goal from a corner minutes later. But the boys were not settling for a point. This time, Brereton Diaz found Wellington in acres of space. He drove into the area and fired home the goal to win us the match and the championship title, sending us back to the Premier League at the first time of asking, with 2 games to spare. If you subscribe right now, it is guaranteed to give you good luck in your own promotion push in your Football Manager saves. Brereton Diaz's 37 goals in all competitions highlights just how good he is, especially when Cameron Archer scored less goals having played more games. So the big question as we head back to the Premier League is who's going to be our starting striker next season? Well, it won't be Brereton Diaz, because we aren't saying no to £37 million from Al Nassr, giving us a transfer budget of £72 million to sign 3 main players. Restes joins for £32.5 million from Toulouse to compete with Bazunu for the #1 spot between the sticks. Tobias Gulluckson was relegated with Brest from League 1 last season, so we signed him for his £3.3 million release fee clause to provide cover in midfield. We also signed our first regen, Pablo Perales, who signs for just £250,000 from Boca Juniors, and he looks to have the makings of a great centre-back. But I have even higher hopes for João Rego. Signed for £29.5 million from Benfica, he is more suited to playing through the middle of the pitch, but I plan to use him on the left wing. That means Cameron Archer and Matisse Lambert are going to be competing for the starting striker spot this season, but only because I couldn't find an under-21 striker that was actually head and shoulders better than they were in the transfer window. We're also sticking with this very attacking formation. It is the style of play that I think will win us the Premier League eventually, but doing it now is a risk, especially as we are predicted to get relegated this season. But we won our opening game of the season 3-2 away at Brighton with a goal from Cameron Archer, who then didn't score for another 3 months. Matisse Lambert also wasn't scoring, so in those 3 months, we only won 1 more game. Defensively, we weren't bad. Yes, we were losing games, but only by a single goal. If we can get a striker in form, things might improve. And as if by magic, Cameron Archer found some form in mid-November, helping to beat Bournemouth 3-0 at home, scoring the game's only goal at home against Nottingham Forest, and then scoring a brace in a 2-2 draw against Newcastle United for his 8th and 9th of the season. Thanks to those improved results, we sit a respectable 14th in the table at the halfway stage of the season. But because we have such a young team, everyone is improving rapidly as the season goes on. João Rego was finally starting to contribute with goals, as was Oscar Zambrano, like his effort from the D against West Brom. Shea Charles was also scoring goals, and he got the winner in a 3-2 victory against Forest. But Cameron Archer took another step forwards during this period, helping us beat Leeds United 2-1, Chelsea 1-0 away from home, and scored a brace away at Spurs in a really impressive 2-0 victory. As a result, we picked up 32 points from 19 games and saw ourselves rocket up the table to finish an incredible 8th place, with Cameron Archer somehow finishing 2nd in the Golden Boot race. So given we've done so well with these young signings, the board have said we no longer need to sign exclusively under 21 players. Now we need to get good enough to start pushing towards being able to sign world-class superstars, who aren't interested in signing for the club right now because our reputation is too low. So to improve our reputation, the board wants us to focus on winning cup competitions to make us more well known. So heading into season 4, we need to spend our £83 million wisely, which we then increased by £97 million as we cashed in on players entering the last year of their contracts. With that money, we've added 4 defenders to the squad, as well as Fabrizio Diaz, who will start in the centre midfield, and Nicola Tresoldi, who's going to start the season up front, as both Archer and Lambordet are injured. We're also finally promoting Sam Amo Amayor after 3 successful loan spells at Stevenage, Wrexham and Birmingham City. Now, considering we are focusing on winning cup competitions the next few seasons, our cup runs didn't start well. We just sneaked past Plymouth Argyle in the League Cup, as Cameron Archer scored twice in the final 10 minutes to win 2-1. But then we lost to West Ham in the 3rd round to put an end to the League Cup. So our attention shifted to the Premier League, where we have a new hero. Nicolo Tresoldi has turned into a lethal shooter. We had a tough December, but he scored first in a 2-0 win over the Gunners, got the winner away at White Hart Lane in a 3-2 victory, and got the goals underway as we thrashed Manchester United 4-1. So at the halfway stage, we find ourselves 5th in the Premier League table, just 2 points away from a Champions League spot, with Tresoldi coming in 2nd place in the Golden Boot race, just behind Erling Haaland. In the second half of the season, we enter the FA Cup. We travelled to Hartlepool in the 3rd round and beat the League 2 side 3-0 with a brace from Sam Amo. He then scored in another 3-0 win as we beat Stoke in the 4th round. Mateus Fernandes, who has 14 goals to his name this season, scored twice as we beat Bournemouth 2-0 at home in the 5th round. We then glided past West Brom as we beat the Baggies 2-0 in the quarter-final to set up a semi-final with Chelsea, who had a 3-1 lead at the half-time break. But second half goals from João Rego and Sam Amo meant the game was going to extra time to decide who would make the final. And in the 103rd minute, Shea Charles arrived from nowhere to head us in front to take us to the FA Cup final. But because we had been prioritising the cup, our results in the league had taken a hit. We did still beat 90% of the teams below us in the table, but we kept slipping up to our European rivals. Chelsea thrashed us 4-1, whilst Arsenal and Manchester United both recorded 3-1 victories against us. Our biggest loss, though, was a 5-1 defeat at the hands of Man City, the team we have to play in the FA Cup final. They've also just won the Premier League title back from Liverpool. But despite having a comparatively poor second half of the season, we end up in 6th place, which does guarantee us a spot in next season's Europa League. And Tresoldi ended up 2nd in the Golden Boot race, behind the man we need to keep quiet in the FA Cup final. 15 minutes in, we had the best chance of the game. Following a cleared corner, Sam Amo had a chance to shoot, but flashed his effort across the face of goal. Just a few moments later, Man City had a corner, and Jeremy Doku missed an almost carbon copy effort. Moments before half-time, we played some wonderful one-touch football, forging a chance for Tresoldi, who blasted home his effort to give us a 1-0 lead going into the break. But remember, this is Man City we're playing against, and just 90 seconds into the second half, Nico Williams scored an equaliser, and things got worse on the hour mark, when we allowed Bernardo Silva time and space to pick out a spot and beat Restes to give City the lead. To rub salt into the wounds, John Stones then scored from a corner in the 90th minute for Man City to win the FA Cup. If we'd won, we would have had a nice reputation boost, which would have meant better players would have wanted to sign for us, which would have moved us closer to our ultimate challenge of winning the Premier League. But despite that, it has been our best season yet. Plus, we have a European adventure to look forward to next season, as well as 2 youth promotions. Tyler Dibling might be a star in real life, but at the start of FM24, he's rated as a League 2 quality player. After 3 loan spells, he is finally ready for game time in the Premier League. And after 2 loan spells for Pablo Perales, the young centre-back we signed a few seasons ago, he now looks ready to step into the first team. The board are letting me spend £101 million this summer, but with 95% of the team under contract and those 2 youth promotions, I don't really want to spend much money. So we signed Matty Cash for £25 million and Tyreek Mitchell for £24 million to improve our cover at fullback and get some extra homegrown in-nation players for the Europa League. We've been given a pretty kind draw. The only clubs that may cause us an issue are PSV and Ajax. And sure enough, both of the Dutch teams ended up beating us. PSV was an 87th minute winner from Gus Till, whereas Ajax thrashed us 4-0 in Amsterdam. But we managed to win our other 6 games, with Nicolo Tresoldi scoring in 4 of those victories. Most impressively, we beat RB Salzburg, a team known for developing wonder kids, 4-0 away from home. We end up 5th in the league phase table, meaning we skip the playoff round and go straight to the round of 16. But all the extra games means the squad has been stretched thin. We played 7 games in December, losing 6 and drawing 1. By the end of January, we sit 12th in the table, way off the pace we set for ourselves last season. Back to the Europa League, and we've been drawn against AEK Athens, who were no match for us. We beat them 3-1 in Athens and then 3-1 at home to cruise through to the quarterfinals. This sets our route to the final, but we have a tough matchup in the quarters against Aston Villa. Away from home, Villa had more possession and more shots, but we were more clinical, as we put 3 of them in the back of the net to claim a huge 3-1 victory in Birmingham. Fabrizio Diaz scored the only goal of the second leg, which means we advance to the semi-finals. But we've got a very tough tie with Atalanta. In Italy, we had a cagey match. Neither side created many chances, but we opened up the scoring with Sam Ammo before Atalanta scored from a corner later on to draw the first leg 1-1. Back in England, and Mateus Fernandes scored 48 seconds into the match to give us the advantage before Atalanta once again scored from a corner. The game was heading to extra time, but a last gasp attack saw Sam Ammo score in the 90th minute to win the tie and send us to the final, where we're taking on Brighton in a battle of the English South Coast. We head into the final on a great run of form. The Europa League wins have put wind in our sails, as we became a well-oiled winning machine in the Premier League. Of course, it wasn't enough to put us in a title fight, but we recovered to 6th in the table, where we will be guaranteed a Europa League spot. But if we can defeat Brighton in the Europa League final, we get a Champions League spot instead. Less than 60 seconds into the game, a poor goal kick gave possession straight back to us. We played it forwards down the far side of the pitch, where we opened up the space for João Rego, whose shot hit the post, but it fell to Tresoldi, who gave us the lead. Sadly for us, Sam Ammo didn't have his shooting boots on, as he somehow missed the target from a golden opportunity later on. But the first half was all us. Nathan Patterson forced the keeper to push the ball behind, and when they messed up at the back, it took a vital block in the 6-yard area to deny us a second goal in the final. So for all our chances, we only have a 1-goal lead at the break. And it's a good job we do have it, because 7 minutes into the second half, Nathan Patterson was given a second yellow card and sent off. This forces into some tactical changes to try and keep things tight at the back, but Brighton still managed to get through with Matt Weaver. Luckily, Restes was on hand to make the save. Yusuf Demir almost gave us breathing room, but his long-range free kick just missed the target. But with 12 minutes to go, the referee saw Abakar Syler foul a Brighton player in the penalty area and awarded the Seagulls a penalty. We need a miracle. And Restes provided that miracle, saving the penalty and keeping us in front. After that, we shut the game down by time wasting and getting bodies behind the ball, which worked. Against the odds, we emerge as 1-0 winners and lift the Europa League trophy above our heads. With a huge cup win now under our belts and Champions League football secured, we've completed step 3 of the plan. But before we sell anyone, the board are giving us £113 million to spend. We then sold £75 million worth of players that we need to now replace with world-class superstars. So for £85 million, Jarell Harto replaces Tyreek Mitchell, and will start ahead of Aaron Zenta at left back. Then up front, we signed Evan Ferguson for $75 million to replace Cameron Archer and start ahead of Tresoldi. And then for our final upgrade to improve on Gullickson, we signed Bellingham. Joe Bellingham, that is. He was £20 million from Sunderland, and okay, he's not a world-class superstar, but we did need to improve on Tobias, and he is a better player and contributes towards the homegrown rules for the Champions League, where we've been given a really tough draw. But of course, the Champions League is no longer our focus. We have to start pushing towards our ultimate goal of winning the Premier League. But we didn't have a great start to the season, as it took 5 games for Evan Ferguson to score, and when he did finally score, it was in a 3-2 loss to West Ham. His second came against Brentford, when he scored late on to rescue a 1-1 draw. But soon the goals started to come more frequently, and we started to pick up more and more wins. At the halfway stage, he's got 13 goals in all competitions, the same number as Tyler Dibbling, who is having a breakout season on the right wing. This means we now have 2 academy graduates on the wings, with Sam Amo on the left wing, and both making huge contributions. Because at the halfway stage of the season, we're 4th in the table, 2 points behind league leaders Everton with a game in hand. Oh, and Tyler Dibbling is in the race for the Golden Boot. So maybe this could be our year. The Champions League had also gone really well. This is actually where Evan Ferguson scored 10 of his 13 goals, as we won every game in the league phase, aside from a 2-2 draw with Lyon. It means we finished 2nd in the table, making us one of the favourites until we lost 1-0 to Arsenal in the round of 16 and got knocked out. But that means we can fully focus on a Premier League title push, but we had a few hiccups. Title rivals Newcastle beat us 2-1 at St James's Park. Down to 10 men, we lost 4-3 away at Chelsea as Esteval scored late on for the Blues, whereas Leicester City scored a 97th minute winner to beat us 3-2 to drag themselves out of the relegation zone. With 5 games to go, we're 5 points off the top spot, so we're going to need a miracle. Tyler Dibbling might be that miracle, as he capped off a wonderful victory away at Man City to secure us a vital 3 points. But then we bottled it away at Bournemouth as we lost 1-0. I blame the awful kit clash. Away at Brighton, we played brilliantly, and we were 4-2 up heading into the 85th minute as we looked to bank 3 points. But the Seagulls scored twice in the final 5 minutes of the match, meaning we dropped 2 important points in the title race. We may have beaten Fulham 3-0 in the penultimate game of the season, but it was too little too late. We drew to Everton on the final day, which condemned us to 5th place and 6 points away from the top spot. But still, this is our best season yet in terms of points and league position, so we are getting closer. We've got 95 million to spend, so once again we're going to have to sell some players to bring in some world-class superstars. Fabrizio Diaz and Abakar Sylla leave for a combined total of £128 million. They are big losses. But Sylla is replaced by Benoit Badiashile for £90 million. At 6'5" with 17 heading and 18 jumping reach, we are going to exploit him from set pieces. We also spent £111 million on Archie Gray from Spurs, which is an outrageous amount of money. Step 4 has now been completed, and all was left for us to do is win the Premier League. Evan Ferguson hit the ground running, scoring just 11 seconds into our first game of the season away at Ipswich. He also got the first in a 5-2 demolition job of Man City as he takes on his Golden Boot rival Erling Haaland. Evan's first season was all about adjusting to life at Southampton, but now he's out for blood. In 19 starts, he's scored 18 Premier League goals to take the lead in the Golden Boot race. Badiashile was of course proving his worth to the side as he chipped in with 4 goals in the first half of the season, including the winner against West Ham United. And Archie Gray was also proving his worth. Along with his 7 assists, the deep line playmaker chipped in with 3 goals. However, we weren't perfect. Tottenham beat us 4-1 at White Hart Lane, Chelsea defeated us 2-1 at Stamford Bridge, and it wouldn't be Football Manager without suffering a defeat at home to the team sat bottom of the table. Leeds United beat us 3-2. But despite the losses, we have done enough to sit on top of the table at the halfway mark, 2 points ahead of Liverpool. But both Liverpool and Man United have games in hand on us. So things did not look good for us when 37-year-old Mo Salah scored for Liverpool to defeat us at Anfield. And it wasn't much better when we could only draw at home against Manchester United. Obviously, we also lost for a second time against Leeds United, although they weren't bottom of the table at this point, so that is maybe an improvement. But this is where our attacking quality shone. João Rego and Sam Amo both upped their production levels in the second half of the season, and for the first time, both players broke into double figures for Premier League goals. As Liverpool and United dropped points to the other top 10 teams, we kept beating them, putting us back on top of the table after we dropped off the top spot for about 3 months. This is surely the moment. But we had a frustrating game against Brighton. We scored 3 times as Sam Amo and João Rego both got on the score sheet, but so did Brighton, as we painfully have to accept a 3-3 draw. Away at Wolves, we took the lead 4 minutes in through Tresoldi, but we couldn't hang on. Moments before half-time, Fabio Silva got Wolves back on level terms. Late in the game though, Badiashile knocked down a corner for Archie Gray, who rifled home his shot to win the match 2-1. United and Liverpool also win, so the gap stays at 5 points with 3 to play. And we needed those 5 points, because in our next game, Aston Villa beat us 1-0. Are we about to bottle the Premier League title? Liverpool are now 2 points behind us after winning, but United, who drew midweek and won at the weekend, are now just 1 point behind us, but we have a game in hand on them. Up next, we're against Brentford, and we got off to a good start thanks to a Shea Charles banger. But early in the second half, we were once again pegged back by our opponents. But we fought hard, and the players showed real desire to keep hold of the ball and score a winner 75 minutes into the match. At the same time, Liverpool lost, which means one thing: we haven't won the Premier League title yet. Whilst we were worried about Liverpool and United, Arsenal have come out of nowhere to take second place heading into the final day of the season. And guess who they're playing on the final day of the season? If we can avoid defeat at the Emirates, the title will be ours. Both teams defended well. 7 minutes in, a poor back pass from Gabriel Jesus went straight to Evan Ferguson, but Saliba made an excellent recovery. At the other end, Arsenal tiki-taka had us bamboozled, but Pedro Perales' last-ditch challenge stopped a certain goal. There would, however, be a goal before half-time. Arsenal won the ball in the centre circle and played it forwards. Despite our best efforts, every tackle fell to an Arsenal player, and Benjamin Šeško was able to score for Arsenal. At the break, it's not looking good, and we look shaky at the back 5 minutes into the second half. Patterson lost possession in the penalty area, and Zambano was lucky that neither of his headers caused us an issue. But on the counter, we raced forwards with pace, switching the play to Evan Ferguson, who fired home his effort to get us back on level terms and back on top of the table. We really tried to win the game, but David Raya was holding strong, until a cleared corner came back to Tyler Dibling, whose simple pass to Mateus Fernandes resulted in our second goal, winning us the match and crowning Southampton champions, completing the rebuild of the Premier League's worst team. So I'm getting pretty good at rebuilding clubs, and word is getting out. So much so, an international footballer has given me what some might say is an impossible challenge. To find out who it is and what the challenge could possibly be, click the video on the screen right now to go and find out. I promise you, it's a banger. You will not regret it.